everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Whitney, and today we are back at it again with another Moving Up Monday. So today on this Moving Up Monday, y'all already know I'm gonna give you 5 tips for your week. We're gonna try to be I don't want to say successful, but we're trying to get into the right mindset, right? Because that's what this video is going to talk about today. Today we're going to talk about how success is not a placement, but in fact it is a mindset. That's what I believe. I genuinely believe that success is subjective to each and every one different individual. My definition of success is different than someone else's definition of success, and that's just what we're going to grapple with today. So if you guys are interested, then keep on watching. One of the first things that I tend to hear when people are talking about, you know, different successes, different accomplishments, different things that they're doing in their life, right? People tend, I don't want to say people, but I have seen this narrative like within not even my friends, but like just being around the different communities and seeing it online, right? I've seen this narrative of like, oh, I did this by this age, or I'm gonna get a house by the time I'm 25, or I'm gonna get a house, or I'm gonna pay off my loans but before I'm 30, right? Like that was one of my goals. My goal used to be that I wanted to pay off all of my loans by the time I'm 30. Now, if I didn't want to go to law school, that was definitely feasible. I was on the road to do so. I paid off a loan because, you know, I got different loans from different areas, right? I got private loans, I got loans from my actual institution. Like I paid off one of my loans from one of my private loans, and I was so happy. It was one of the smaller ones. It was like a little bit over, it was like $3,500 I believe, and I paid it off in like a couple months, and I was happy for myself, right? I was like, damn, I'm really gonna do this thing. I can really do it. But you know, there's this thing like the reason why I say that is because we get to this sort of place where like we're putting a timeline on our success, and I don't think that we should necessarily keep that, because what if we don't, you know, get a house by the time we're 25? What if I wasn't able to pay off all of my loans by 30? Then what? Then like what happens, right? Or even after you accomplish that goal, it's on to the next goal. But then you get into this sort of cycle where it's just like, what is really truly fulfilling you? Are you doing what makes you happy, or are you just trying to reach certain things at a different milestone just to say that you did it? And so I know that sometimes for some people, you know, having certain goals by a certain age or something like that really helps you continue forward, and it makes you more dedicated. But what I want to say here is that we cannot get into the spirit of comparing ages. Like when we see someone who like who owns a multi-billion-dollar company by the time they're 22, that's their story, and we should take their story and use it as something sort of motivational. We shouldn't be like, oh, they're doing better than me, then that means I need to do that means that I need to work harder because I'm not doing enough. I feel like I should be doing more at this age. And I want to say that everyone has a different pathway, everyone has a different story, everyone has a different background, you know? Like there's certain things that we're just not going to accomplish by a certain age. And I'm not saying like that to discourage you by any means necessary. I just think having a timeline, a restrictive timeline, is limiting to us in our growth, because there is a lot of things that can happen in our lifetimes that we cannot foresee, and then all of a sudden that deters us, and we're like, damn, I never accomplished that goal. And all of a sudden we're feeling upset because we didn't get to, I don't know, whatever goal by 25, right? You know what I mean? And I hope that doesn't sound like I'm rambling on, but like I have heard this narrative before that it's like, oh, I'm gonna be popping by the time I'm 25, and by the time I'm this age, I'm gonna have this. I want this much money in my bank account. Or by the time I'm 27, I'm gonna have $100,000 in my savings. And it's like, okay, that's great for you, whatever, you know, makes you happy. But at the end of the day, you have to find what fulfills you. And what fulfills you is not going to have a time limit on that. What fulfills you is not going to be like, oh, this needs to be completed by the time you're 30. You know what I'm saying? Like people work on different timelines. There are some people who are a little bit more ahead than others and a little bit more accelerated, but that doesn't mean that your path is not towards success by any means. If you see someone who's 22 and rich because they have their own company, use that as a method to make yourself continue forward, right? Use that as a method of like, say congratulations, you know, be happy for them, support them, and let that be, you know, you can look at that and say that can be you too. You can't look at that and be like negative to yourself because you're not there yet. You know what I'm saying? Just because you're not there now doesn't mean that you're not going to get there ever. And I'm not saying to like waste your time or anything like that, right? Because like you have to work hard for what you want. but you also cannot limit yourself to just, this one sort of goal by the time you're a certain age, because then what are you truly doing it for? Why is it fulfilling you? What is the purpose? What is your why? You know what I'm saying? The reason why I've gotten to the place of understanding that success is a mindset and not a placement is because that sort of comparing ages artifact is it's an element of viewing success as a placement, right? Does that make sense? Because if you're looking at yourself or other people who are like, I want X amount of money by the time I'm 25, I want to make 6 figures by the time I'm 30, right? Like that sort of element is saying that, okay, you're putting success on a timeline, and if you haven't reached this goal, then you are no longer successful. Or if you reach this goal sooner, then you're like over the top successful. And even though it's like, yes, you have elements of success in there because it's, great to be making that sort of money, that means you're doing something right? So like, even though you do have that, because success is a mindset, it's how you view your own personal growth, putting it on a timeline is subjective to everyone else. So now that is not like only to yourself and how you view yourself, you're putting it out there so that way everyone else can view your success and be like, oh, well, you haven't done this by the time you were 24, so sorry, you're not successful. And like, why are we going to put our success on a timeline? Why are we going to rush it? Last time I checked, success is not a sprint, it's a marathon. Different people start at different people start on the same I don't even like that analogy, because not everyone starts at the same starting line. But, it's just like we all have one finish line, and that's different for everybody. When you run a marathon, you want to complete a certain amount of miles in a certain time, right? That's your own personal growth. That's your own personal goal. That's what I'm trying to get at. But, maybe we can talk about how everyone doesn't start at the same starting line. Maybe that can be a different video. But that's why I'm kind of iffy on that analogy, but at the same time, can you see where I'm coming from with that, right? Another element of why I believe that success is 1000% a mindset and not a placement. I know for me and myself, I looked at my history of failure and thought that would be my future. And I don't know if everyone else in any way capacity thought that before, but if you have, I just want to let you know that you cannot think that just because you had a history of disadvantages and of, not necessarily meeting the goals that you would have liked to have met, that doesn't mean that that's going to be your future. We remake ourselves every single day. I'm literally striving to be the best person that I could be every single day. And that's different than the person I was yesterday. If you think that, a couple months ago you knew me, right? Like, if you're going off of the person I was 3, 4, 5 months ago, you don't know me today, because I'm not that same person. I'm literally learning a lesson every single day. And let me tell you, like, I believe that I am becoming more successful in learning who I am as a person, having an element of morality, right? Like being someone who is very empathetic and very giving. I'm starting to realize that this is the person that I am, and I'm not going to let anybody change that. And so every single day I'm learning something new about myself and how I handle different situations, right? And then I'm also learning, like, okay, that's how I want to continue handling like this particular situation for the rest of my life, right? Because I handle that very well. Or even the opposite, right? Like I'm sitting here and I'm thinking like, okay, I did not handle that situation very well at all, so this is how I want to continue forward, right? Like I'm learning more about myself, I'm learning more about what I want, I'm learning more about, everything that there is to be as a 23-year-old growing up in this life, right? And then eventually as I continue forward, God willing, God blessing, you know what I'm saying? Like every time I wake up in the morning, I'm learning something different about Christ as well, because I'm learning and I'm trying to figure out, like, what is my relationship with God? What is my relationship with others? What is my relationship with my career? And that's very deep to me, because I can't expect to be myself and I can't expect to, have my end goals be completed if I don't, start now, if I don't analyze who I am now and how I'm going to work towards those goals. You know what I'm saying? And so just because I had those disadvantages in the past, I will not, like, it doesn't mean that it's going to be my future. I refuse. Like, I worked way too hard to let my failures seep into my future. Let me tell you, this is one big example, right? When I first came into college, I left freshman year with a 2.0 GPA. I did not think that I was going to survive. I didn't think I was going to get into any type of schools after undergrad. And you know, throughout the end of undergrad, I graduated on time in 4 years, and I also ended up leaving school with a 2.7 GPA. Now, you guys know that it's very hard to bring up your GPA when you have a whole bunch of credits under your belt, right? And the highest that I could have made if I had a 4.0 all semesters was like a 3.2. So I was 0.5 points, 2.77, I don't know, like, what is that, 4.3 points off? I'm not good with math. Listen, like, math is not my thing. 5 points off, let's just say that. I was 5 points off, and like, even though like I was 5 points off, I got so close to doing that. I think, matter of fact, I think it was the highest, like a 3.1. Either way, I was a couple points off, and I was so happy because no matter what, I didn't stop. I kept going, and I kept on striving to do better. And that is one thing that I can say that I was successful at, because I did not fail in working hard. And so by doing that, I was very proud of what I have accomplished. I was very proud of, you know, getting that 2.7 GPA. And then, you know, when employers look at that, they're like, why don't you have a 3? And I'm like, let me tell you why I don't have a 3. And it's a part of my story. And then a lot of people, a lot of employers like my background because they know that I am persistent, I am consistent, and that I don't play around when it comes to my work, because I have done that in the past, and I have seen that, and I have seen what happens when you play around. And so with my record of like all of my transcripts after that, they're like, okay, we see that you worked hard, we see that you did your absolute, right? And like and then ooh, excuse me, and then some, right? Because I also had jobs at the same time. So that's just to say that, like, I'm not trying to brag or anything like that. Hopefully that's not coming off as bragging. But that's just to say that you cannot let what happened to you in the past become your future, because it can literally consume you in like 2 seconds. Like, if you literally just sit there and just think about it, and then all of a sudden you're thinking about this thing that led to that, and you're like, man, I should have never done this thing, and it's all a domino effect, and then all of a sudden you're coming all like down this little rabbit hole, and you're like, damn, how did I get here? And now you're wondering, how do you get back out? And I just want you to know, let's not focus on the past so much so that we, you know, lose ourselves in the past and it becomes our future, because I'll be damned if my past becomes my future. Basically, to play off of that, right, like, this is a couple examples of why success is different for everybody. So I had a friend in college who like dropped out of college, opened up a bar, and then now his bar is like booming, and like he gets drunk like all the time. And it was such a turn off to me, because I was like, how is that being successful? And I was talking to my sister about it, and she literally like had to like spell it out for me. And she was like, Whitney, you don't have to, you know, look down on this person just because they're not doing what you're doing. My sister was like, this is his definition of success. He's making money, he's owning a business, he's running it, and he's having the time of his life. Like, this is his definition of success. And I was like, how can anybody feel successful when you're getting drunk every single night? And she's like, but who is he getting drunk with? Is he just getting drunk with his friends, or he's getting drunk with customers? Is he getting drunk with like a big room full of people who are there to buy his product? Like, he's making money and he's having the time of his life. You can only imagine like what is going to happen like 10 years from now, right? Like, what if they have multiple bars in the city, like multiple, I guess, what would you call it, branches, right? Like, what if he grows and then all of a sudden he's making connections with different partners? So he was like, or excuse me, my sister was like, you don't know what people are happy with. And just because your definition of happy, what makes you happy, doesn't mean that it's going to be for somebody else. And I was like, you know what? You are so right. That is so true. Because no matter what, like, if owning a business makes them happy and they're having the time of their lives and they're genuinely doing well, like business is booming, then why are you saying that they're not successful? That's the definition of putting success on the timeline, viewing somebody else's achievements as not successful, because you're sitting here thinking that like, oh, that's not success for you. And I'm here to tell you, success is a mindset, okay? Not a placement. Because what you think of yourself and how you want, like the different goals that you have for yourself is not the same goals that other people have. So there's not going to be one collective definition of success for everybody. You see, like, do you see how that makes sense? There's not going to be one collective definition of success for everyone, because success is subjective to each individual and their personal goals. So lastly, to end on this point, one of my really good friends states all the time that he hates being called smart, because people are basically like downplaying his achievements, because it's like, I mean, I guess I'm smart, but it's like, I didn't just do this off of sheer brain power. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's like, I worked hard to get to where I am. I'm not smart. I just work hard. Like, I did my damnness and I got the things that I worked for. Like, I worked hard. I can't stress that enough. And that stuck with me. And I think about that from time to time, because I'm like, you know, when people view me, right, they don't view me as someone who's, you know, the most intelligent person in the room. And that's not to say no shots or anything like that, because like, I'm not trying to like talk down on myself or anything like that. Like, when I'm in a group of people, they're not gonna be like, Whitney's an Einstein. No, when my friends look at me, like, I'm not just making this up. My friends literally said this before. When they look at me, they're like, you work so hard for everything that you've done. Like, I don't know anybody who's out here working 4 jobs and don't work hard, right? And I really resonated with my friend who said that, because it's like, you know what, that's true. It doesn't matter how smart you are. You have to work for what you have. You have to work for what you want. And so my definition of success is basically, I believe that I have been successful in my journey, but I have not reached my ultimate fulfillment of success just yet, because there's so much that I want to accomplish. There's so many people that I want to help along my way. I want to be able to inspire everybody. And so I guess my definition of success, hold on, I wrote it down. My definition of success would be something along the lines of like, you know, pursuing a healthy environment for me, my future and my now, right? My future family and now family without financial burdens, and to be extremely happy with the people I have in my life, right? Like, I want to be able to make a difference. And I'm not sure what that difference is yet, to be quite honest with you. I don't know if like God's gonna make my platform here blow up and then all of a sudden I'm going to, you know, end up dropping out of, not going into law school, and maybe like this is where I'm supposed to be, or maybe I'm supposed to, you know, maybe this is gonna drop off and I'm not gonna be like an influencer, and maybe I'm gonna do something with law. Like, maybe I'm going to be a juvenile defender, like I'm thinking about, right? Like, maybe that's where I'm gonna make a difference, or both. Like, what if like during law school I end up growing very well on this platform and I end up getting my JD and also building a business where I'm just there, like building a business for people who need to be inspired, or like building my own firm for, you know, defending others, being a prosecutor, something like that, right? Like, or just maybe traveling around speaking to people. I would be happy in all 3 of those avenues. Yeah, I think I would be happy with all 3 of those avenues, to be quite honest with you, because I really want to open up a business. I want to try that. And I do want to, I don't know if I want to start my own firm, but I know that I want to go to law school, and I know for a fact that like I've always wanted to go to law school ever since I was a kid. And so this whole journey, I'm just, honestly, I'm not even like that pressed to be like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? At the beginning of this year, I've literally said, I'm just gonna put everything in God's hands. And that's what I've been doing, to be quite honest with you. I was like, listen, God, if you want me to go to law school, I'll go. And I was like, I'm gonna study, I'm gonna try to do this, but we'll see. We'll see if I get into different schools. We'll see where you take me. And I was also like, I'm not going to law school though unless I get a scholarship. And so it'll be funny if I only get $1,000 for a scholarship, or $500, because a scholarship's a scholarship. So you never really know, because I wasn't all that specific either. So it's going to be interesting to find out what it is that God is leading me towards and what I'm, you know, destined to do. I know I'm destined to help people. I know I'm destined to make a difference. How I'm going to do that, I'm not sure, but we're just going to see. And I'm not really that pressed either to find out, because I know eventually I'm going to learn. With that being said, I'd like to thank you guys for joining me today on this segment of A Writer's World. Thank you for joining me this morning on this beautiful Monday morning. I know it's early. It's like 8:30, I think. I think it's like approximately 8:30, maybe a little bit after that. But you know, thanks. for joining me today, guys. Leave whatever comments. Tell me your story down in the comments below. Don't forget, like, while you guys are down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on your post notifications so you never miss when I post a new video. I am also starting this segment on my channel called A Writer's Scope, where you send to my email anything that you need, any advice, whatever it is, even if it is your story. Like, I will definitely share your story with no problem, you know, if you want to do that. Talk to me, interact with me. I want to talk with every last one of you guys. And I don't always respond, but I respond, you know, in the best way that I can. So thank you guys for joining me today, and I'll see you next week. Bye.